Hi, welcome to Networks for the Future. This is a session that will also be followed by 2 fishbowl discussions afterwards. I want to start by thanking DOK.fest Munich and also the 12 desks of Creative Europe that are initiating traveling docs that are organizing this webinar today. My name is Klara Grunning and I'm Film Commissioner at the Swedish Film Institute. I will be your moderator and I want to welcome you all for joining today. I think this is a topic that is really an important lens to talk through regarding how to support, sustain, and develop filmmakers, the industry, and the context of the current landscape. The existence of creative documentary film is more important than ever. The demand to watch quality content based in reality is growing, and the creativity in expression and form is at a momentum movement forward. So, how do we strengthen the connection between all players in order to realize the enormous wealth of stories and knowledge encompassed? What are the most important networks in the future and for the future? What are the public and closed spaces that we will meet, watch, and participate with each other? Today, I'm very excited to introduce a very esteemed panel, 6 participants, and I look forward hearing their specific perspective on this topic. I hope through this session that you will find a lot of more information about some old and some new organizations so that you can take with you in the discussions afterwards. The session will be about 45 to 50 minutes long. And it will be, each participant will be introduced and they will talk about their organization, have a short Q&A after, and then the bigger discussion will happen later in the 2 sessions following. So without further ado, I want to introduce my first panelist, who is Marion Schmidt in Germany, and she's representing the Documentary Association of Europe. This is a brand new network for documentary professionals and has the ambition to field new ways to collaborate and to connect filmmakers across Europe. And Marion, she is one of the co-founders of DOK.box, and she has over 15 years of experience in the industry across Europe and in the Middle East, and including the Goethe Institute in Cairo and the European film market. Hi, Marion, welcome, and please tell us about your organization.
Hi, good morning, Klara. Thank you very, very much for this kind introduction, and thank you also to Florina and the whole team of DOK.fest München for this great panel and the initiative of Traveling Docs. I'm here today to represent the Documentary Association of Europe, or DAE, as we like to refer to it, a new pan-European association for European documentary professionals that came into being to strengthen the industry, unite the community, and create sustainable support. Spearheaded by Britta Dochier, head of DOK Leipzig, and backed by a group of 9 international DOK professionals, DAE was founded at this year's Berlinale in February, when we were still able to meet, hug, and drink in real life, which seems like a lifetime ago for all of us, I'm sure. First and foremost, DAE is a membership organization, and our aim is to act and speak on behalf of our members, who are professionals working with non-fiction storytelling in Europe and abroad. This includes neighbors and like-minded professionals from beyond the European Union who are welcome to join DAE. Next to representing our members as a lobby group, they have access to a whole range of benefits, including exclusive discounts and deals on festivals, accreditations, badges and market fees, as well as networking events and content. Currently, we already have started such partnerships with a whole range of organizations, including collaborations with Sunnyside of the Dogs, Kickstarters, and CanDocs. Moreover, membership gives access to information, data, and resource on financing, co-production, and distribution, and the most important players and markets in Europe and abroad. We offer consultation, digital knowledge sharing, and training opportunities. Currently, DAE is organized on a volunteer basis and supported by a small group of very passionate people. During this beta phase, as we call it, the plan was to do a festival tour and to listen to the community, to build the offerings of DAE organically and truly in line with the needs of the community and, so to say, with them. As well as we all know really, really well, this didn't happen as planned, at least not in real life, but nevertheless, we have been all very active. We have been offering online consultations that are still ongoing and mentoring on a rolling basis. We run a weekly hangout with up to 4 ongoing discussion groups and over 60 participants, and have been participating in online festivals from Thessaloniki to Zagreb Docs, Docu Days, Vision du Réel, to DOK.fest Munich, where day representatives have been contributing to industry events and given prizes to up-and-coming filmmakers. Overall, one can say that the incredible positive response and feedback during the consultations and the hangouts, but also the generosity with which the community has come towards the network and towards supporting the network and offered their contribution has been mind-blowing, and for us proves the need for networks that do not stand in competition with each other, but rather complement each other, and also are truly a peer-to-peer opportunity for the community to engage. So if you want to know more, check our website. There's also currently a 50% discount on day membership till the end of this month. And yeah, see you all very soon, I hope, in real life again. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Marion. And I think that is one of the things when we speak and we meet in these spaces that are virtual, we both long to meet in real life, but we also recognize the benefits that we can really have by meeting people anywhere in the world and finding new tools of communicating, which I think is very exciting.
Absolutely.
But just to add a couple of extra questions, I know you're the new kid on the block here, and I'm assuming that it has great benefits because you have been researching a lot of existing organizations, but also some challenges in finding ways to fit in or to complement the existing networks. What do you think is the most important mission for DAE, or DAYS as you call it?
Thank you, Klara. Let me start by saying that I would say that one of the core of the organization I have to start this again. I would say that people are at the core of what DAY stands for. So based on this, I would say that DAY's most important mission is to build a network and offerings that are truly relevant to the community, but at the same time also are developed together with the community. And this also, in my opinion, starts by how the network is being built from the onset. And one of the things that it includes is a radical transparency on all matters pertaining to the organization, and always an open contribution, open invitation to contribute. At the same time, of course, it requires to be a strong voice that can represent and defend the needs of the community and hold funders and the industry accountable. But once again, this is only possible if the network is backed by the community that it represents, and allows for spaces of interaction of peer-to-peer interaction between the network and its members. In this sense, I would say DAY's mission is to provide a solid structure that is populated and filled by its members. DAY, as you quite rightly said, Klara, was only funded a few months ago, so just right before the Corona crisis hit. And in a sense, the association is growing up alongside the crisis. I guess that we all, in and outside of DAY, have been extremely reactive over the course of the last month, which was absolutely necessary to immediately kind of try and offer some relief for the effects of the crisis. But I also think now, after a few months, I believe it is time to slow down and to start really evaluating and to think strategically, in particular with regards to the development of a network like DAY, because I do believe it is absolutely crucial to lay down healthy structures that can then give this open invitation for a peer-to-peer development of the content of this network.
I think you're both were unlucky about the Corona, but a crisis like this, I hope that we all are not wasting the human efforts that it's taking, and take away a lot of new innovative ways to work with each other and communicate in terms of solidarity and creative ways of thinking. I wanted to just ask a quick question, because a little bird was telling me that you might have also in the future plans for a funding initiative.
Yes, this is absolutely true. I mean, obviously, this is more of a midterm plan, but we have started discussing with a whole range of people, and it's also one of the containers, I would say, that would form part of the development of the network, and will be, though, developed once again in very close dialogue and conversation with the community and the membership, to also maybe come up with different ways of funding that is based on new ways of working together and sharing resources, rather than only just adopting the old way of top-down funding decision making as well as flow of money.
I think that sounds very fresh and very inspiring, because I think in the hopefully future in the new world, we will look at decision making and the hierarchy in a different way, and understand that the wealth is actually within the knowledge and the experience from different perspectives and different voices that we can all gather to create and distribute better films and more important films. So I want to thank you for now, and we will see you later in the fishbowl. And I will now continue to introduce the next panelist, who is Sonia Hausséguy, who is from Germany, but is representing Crew United, a network for the film industry. And she was also the one establishing Crew United in France. This is a web platform, which is the basis and the core of the organization. And she will talk a lot more about what exactly it is that they're doing there, after she's showing a video that will also go into details about the actual platform. Welcome, Sonia.
Crew United was launched in 1996 in Germany and will soon celebrate its 25th anniversary. It has become the central platform of the German-speaking countries. The launch of the French version was done some months ago, and the initial feedback has been very positive. Crew United is a database combined with a directory for the audiovisual industry. Let me show you very briefly how it works. I type in the search bar a movie, for example, Beyond the Visible, Hilma af Klint, which is currently running in the program of the DOK.fest Munich. While I go through the project, we get to what makes the heart of Crew United and its database structure, the people and the companies that worked on this film. The little dots next to the people's names are the active members of the website. Crew United is seeking to list all the shooting and post-production departments that were involved in the film. And of course, we also have the production companies, the distributors, as well as the facilities. All of the names listed are profiles. If I take, for example, the sound designer, he has its own profile that allows him as an active member to present himself with all the useful professional informations. I can also see further professional informations, like the languages he speaks and to which degree of fluency, or his main working area. Going back to his film projects, you can see what he's been working on and walk around like that from project to project and land on another movie. Until now you have seen the English interface of the site, but Crew United is multilingual and also exists in German, French, and soon in other languages. By changing the languages, you can see that all the informations are translated automatically. The title, the basic data, including the professions up to all departments. So what you can see here is the result of a long research work involving a lot of exchanges with professionals and associations in each country or language area where Crew United wants to open a new version. The data are the same, but all the informations are multilingual with a very accurate concern to represent in the best way how this film was realized. We have now seen the films and the profiles. In addition, Queer United offers a very fine search filter, which in this combination is a worldwide unique system. For example, if I'm looking for a co-production partner who has already experience in documentary. Finally, let's take a quick look at a very important activity of Queer United, here under the heading Jobs. This is a job exchange, where job offers or searches for professionals are posted according to different categories. These offers are also checked by the editorial team of Queer United to ensure that the pricing conditions comply with current legislation and are also fair. In the German-speaking countries, this is the central job exchange for film professionals, and also the best gateway for the younger generation to reach their first experiences in the audiovisual industry. Queer United currently has over 36,000 active members. The site is financed on a freemium model with free registrations and paying accounts. Here is a brief overview of the 3 different profile types: Basic Membership, Premium Membership, and Premium Video Plus. Queer United is committed to many current issues of the audiovisual industry. Our philosophy is to use the power of a company in order to set standards for fair and sustainable conditions.
Thank you very much, Klara. One can divide the projects of Queer United that go beyond our daily business into 2 directions. First, we want to strengthen the networking, the solidarity, and the collectivity of the filmmakers among themselves, which is an internal effect. And second, we want to improve working and production conditions through other framework conditions in form of laws, regulations, collective agreements, initiatives, often towards the public clients or film funding agencies, which is more of an external impact. Let me explain very briefly 2 projects that Queer United is doing. The Fair Film Award. There are 2 Fair Film Awards that Queer United is involved in awarding. The Fair Film Award Fiction, which is awarded during the Berlinale, and the Fair Film Award Non-Fiction, which is developed with the DOK.fest Munich with its criteria. The Fair Film Award Non-Fiction aims to provide inspiration for dialogue on the perspectives of the production of documentaries and non-fiction formats. The unique characteristic is that not a jury awards the prize, but the filmmakers themselves award the prize by evaluating the films for which they have worked via an online voting on Queer United. So all the employees of a project can vote on it. And to give you an idea, the assessment consists of the following criteria: contract, fees and charges, working hours, occupational health and safety and work environment, equal opportunities, equal treatment and diversity, communication and working atmosphere, professionalism and qualification, sustainability, solidarity and perspectives, and the fair dealing with protagonists. So the Fair Film Award is intended to be a tool to make film funds, public broadcasters, and other partners aware of their social, ethical, and ecological responsibility in the allocation of public funds. And the project that comes closest to those ideal criteria that I just told you finally wins the award. A second example of what we're doing as a project is right now the Corona newsletter. We have since 2003 an online magazine, a PDF magazine called Cine Arte for our members, and since 2011 we also have a blog called Outtakes. And well, currently, as we all know, the virus has taken control of the whole industry, including us, and Queer United as an online network and a platform sees itself as responsible for focusing on the research of the effects of the corona crisis on the filmmakers. This is why for the last weeks we have been compiling news and tips every day in our Corona Industry Info, which includes any kind of information that may be relevant to our members. And yeah, one can say that the feedback is really outstanding. The members really do appreciate the precision of the research and the continuity of the newsletter. They say that it's really a great help and a support. So with this newsletter, we are sending a signal of solidarity in these difficult times. We are often confronted with the question why a company is so committed beyond its own business model, because we're neither a trade union nor an association. Our answer is that the philosophy of Queer United is, can be described with the term of a purpose-driven company. We are committed to a strong film culture and a film industry that is characterized by fairness, by sustainability, by transparency, by diversity, liberal-mindedness, courage, and tolerance. And last but not least, the story of Queer United is that two professionals founded Queer United for the professionals. With this short presentation, I give back to you, Klara, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for sharing all that important information, and we welcome you back into the fishbowl discussion in a little bit. And so next, I want to introduce Isabel Arrate-Fernandez from the Netherlands. She is representing the IDFA Bertha Fund, and it is under the umbrella of IDFA, but it is a separate strand. You're a manager of the fund and a long experience in working in different festivals. You represent a very established brand and place that I think is a very important watermark for projects that you support. So welcome, Isabel. Please tell us a little bit about the organization and the funding and how you work.
Okay, thank you, Klara, and thank you, DOK.fest Munich, for inviting me to this panel. So, my name is Isabel Arrate-Fernandez, and I'm head of the IDFA Bertha Fund, which is part of the International Documentary Film Festival Amsterdam, IDFA, the yearly documentary film festival. The IDFA Bertha Fund operates as a regular film fund throughout the year with different categories and several deadlines. And we only support documentary film projects from filmmakers from Africa, Asia, Latin America, Middle East, and still some countries in Eastern Europe. As I said, we operate as a regular film fund, which means we give out grants in development and production. We also have a co-production category. This is very much not tied to the festival, but tied to our own rhythm and deadlines. Part of what we do, I mean, on the one hand, it's really the concrete monetary grants, but the other side of what we do is that we set out to make what we call a tailor-made consultancy or support to each individual project that we support, which means that depending on the project, on the filmmaker, if it's a first-time filmmaker, if it's an experienced filmmaker, if it's a project looking for co-production, for more financing, struggling with the edits, I mean, all the things that can happen in a production, we see where we can add additional support. And this can be either in the form of facilitating the participation to the training program that IDFA organizes. So that's the IDFA Academy Summer School in summer, that is coming up now in July, or the IDFA Academy in November. At the same time, we also see to it that we support the projects that are projects we've supported that are selected for the IDFA Forum, so for the pitch market in November. But sometimes projects don't fit into either any of these activities. So then in discussion with the filmmaking team, we see if there is another additional consultant that we can arrange depending on what their needs are. So in that sense, I mean, what we, as the fund is a separate organization, but is part of IDFA, which is this big institute that has quite an extensive network. I mean, of course, the fund also has an extensive network, but on another side of the world. So what we try to do is to use the network of IDFA for the filmmakers that we support. So that's, I mean, for us, it's very important. We discovered at some point that for filmmakers to be able to attend IDFA, even without their film, so when the film is still in production, can be quite crucial in the whole process of the film. So we try to invite as much as the filmmakers that we support in an earlier stage, so before they come to present their film, to attend IDFA, to participate in all these different sections or industry talks, or all the activities that IDFA organizes for professional, with the aim of them creating and starting to build up, not creating their own network. So I mean, that's actually, I think, the main goal of this additional support that we offer to filmmakers, to have people create their own access, or we create the access, they create their own network and their own connections. So that's about it.
Thank you, Isabel. No, but it is fantastic to have the kind of experience that you guys have with IDFA in the back, but with this this type of initiative. And I'm thinking I'm thinking that the challenge a lot of times, like you said, with filmmakers that are less established or need a lot of different support, a lot of times the networks stay within their own group, and it's hard to make the connections with both other established filmmakers, with the decision makers, and with the festivals. And like you said, the challenge of even attending a festival, knowing how to navigate in this huge landscape, people really need that kind of guidance. And I'm wondering how you bring projects at an early stage. Is there specific things that you do to prepare the makers, the funded makers, when they attend, or are there other sort of coaching that you provide?
Not in a directly organized way, because we really look with all these additional things we do for filmmakers. We really look at each individual project and also filmmaker as we get to know them, of course, because in the beginning we don't know. So it's a question of talking a lot and having a lot of communication, and not everybody has that need. Concrete thing we do, for example, for the IDFA forum, for the pitch, there's a pitch workshop. And when projects that we have supported get selected, we try to get them to do the pitch workshop, because we think that's good for everybody. One thing, though, that is important that I would like to point out is that we're operating in a field where we operate with a fund, where we're talking about countries and in the film industries that, compared to others, are maybe less developed, have less economical value, have less support. Obviously, the reasoning is very quickly, okay, how do we help them and get them to this access? But what is very important for us, and that I forgot to say earlier, and I think it's important to underline, is that it's not only about that, because these filmmakers that are coming to IDFA, for example, because we invited and get to do all these things and meet all these people, of course they will benefit from that, and they will build their network and can hopefully build a future as a filmmaker on the basis of that. But at the same time, they're also bringing something very valuable to this market and to the film. So it's also very much about the exchange. It's not about becoming part of an existing system. I think it's also very much of having different voices in the system, different ways of thinking, different ways of filmmaking, and different ways of storytelling. So in that sense, to get back to your question, the preparation, of course, I mean, as I said, it depends on the filmmaker. So what are the needs? But I think it's also very much for me and for us, it's also about reassuring filmmakers that what they're bringing in is as good as what the other person is going to meet. And I mean, one particular thing we've been doing and is with regards to co-production, because we started this co-production 5 years ago or 6 years ago by now, and then also got to learn how this mechanism works of international co-production. And coming from somebody that was not of the co-production world, I was kind of surprised at how this works and how sometimes it feels very unequal, no, or not unequal, not fair would be the right word, where people that have worked years in a film, invested everything they have, not necessarily getting a financial compensation, and then a partner comes in that is backed by a big funder, and then suddenly gets the biggest share of the revenue, and what the other one has invested is not taking into account. So one of the things that we've been doing, and we started with DOK.fest, the Arab film organization based in Berlin now, is they started a discussion about this 2 years ago, or a conversation, bringing people together to start talking about how does this work, is it fair, what is good, and this has been going on for the last 2 years, and now beginning of this year, it resulted in the publication of a list of 10 questions to ask yourselves about fair production. And we, for example, published that together with our call for a co-production fund. And the idea is that also other organizations pick this up and start this discussion, because there's not one way to do it, but it definitely needs to be discussed. So
I think especially now, I mean, for instance, like streaming giants and other types of distribution has really grown in power. And I think one of the things that are really affected is that instead of working direct with producers, they often want to work directly with new voices and the creators of the content. And there might be a huge gap between, you know, what you are as an original content creator and being able to negotiate with these big giants, and how to stay true to your story at the same time. So I think there's lots of need for a network like yours in order to prepare and connect in the right way, because obviously we all want our films to be shown, but we also want it to be done in a way where we can develop as storytellers. So thank you so much, Isabel, for all that important information, and we look forward and meeting you later in the fishbowl discussion. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I want to continue to introduce the next panelist, who is the representative of IDF, which stands for Institute for Documentary Film in the Czech Republic, and it's Zdenek Blaha, who is running and specializing in festival strategies and distribution. Zdenek has been working for the Institute of Documentary Film since 2009 and is a manager of East Silver, which is a film market focused on documentaries from Central and Eastern Europe. And currently he's head of East Doc.forum, a key networking event focused on upcoming documentaries films from that region. So warm welcome. Please tell us about your work at the Institute of Documentary Film, and if you will, focus on the specific work around promotion and distribution that you're doing. Thanks.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm happy to be part of this discussion. As was mentioned, I work for the Institute of Documentary Film in Prague, and we support documentaries from Central and Eastern Europe. So this is our area of operation, and we help filmmakers from this region to either develop their films, work on the projects through several workshops we organize, or we also help them with distribution. Basically, AC documentary film covers all the stages of filmmaking, from development to distribution. And I already mentioned, for development, we have the Excellent Film Workshop, which will be starting now in June. We also have Easter Market, which is a program for completed films. We help filmmakers from Central and Eastern Europe to reach festivals, to reach sales agents, and in broader terms, more audience. For this, since we are supposed to talk also later about distribution and promotion, I would just briefly mention one of the programs of Easter, and that's Easter Caravan, which is our festival support tool. That means that we help filmmakers to build their festival strategy, to do the submissions for them, because we have curated approximately around 20 films, curated selection, which we send to various international festivals for consideration, and this way how also to in certain way prolong their festival life and the time they are seen on the festivals. we'll be talking about this more later. I would just mention also, since we're supposed to talk about networks, our main project for distribution, which is called KineDoc. That's a program for alternative distribution. It means that we are working solely with non-theatrical venues where we screen the films actually in 7 countries in Central and Eastern Europe. It's not only Czech Republic, it's also Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and Croatia. This network basically started out of necessity because we wanted to find a place how to distribute films, because there's so many documentaries that never reach the audience, because either there are no places where to screen them, because cinemas, the single screen theaters are either disappearing in certain countries because they were turned into shopping malls and discotheques and so on, and there is basically less places where to screen films, or because another reason was that certain cinemas just simply refused to screen documentaries because there is not enough audience, and thinking purely in economic terms, they couldn't get any money out of the screening fees. So we are looking for a way how to work and how to find a place where to distribute documentaries, because in Central and Eastern Europe, basically the only option is to go for VOD, for festivals, television, and that's it. Then there's nothing else to do. Luckily, there are places, platforms like the DOK Alliance films, or short DAF films, where you could screen documentaries online, but for physical screens, there's not so much. So that's why we, at the beginning, created a network of venues in those 7 countries I mentioned with our partners. Those venues are basically everything from cafes, bar, culture institutes, galleries, places where communities of people eager to watch documentaries. So we reach to them and offer them a collection of films they could screen, they could present to the audience. We help them also to invite guests, to bring directors, filmmakers, not only directors, but also experts on certain topics, because it was about the discussions about getting some topics into the society. So that's all how it started, and now we are in the 6th year of this program, and a couple of years ago we also introduced a VOD module. So even now in this time of pandemic, we still have access to the films. We do now some VOD special screenings with Q&As and continue to promote the films, but we still hope that we will get back to physical screenings at the end of the year. So this is one of the things and what we are doing at Institute of Documentary Film in terms of promotion and distribution, and it's also a great example of a network and collaboration between various countries, and it's one of the ways how we could promote documentaries.
Thank you so much, Zdenek. I think you have so much work that you do. It's amazing, but you also cover a very big and important region that I think more and more is really interacting and becoming a very important creative power in the filmmaking community today. So thank you so much. Now, I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about how you're doing in terms of promotion of your documentary films.
I was already mentioning our workshop Excellente Film, which is for projects in development, and it goes through 3 sessions over the year and ends at IDFA.forum, which is something I have to mention because that's our main networking event for films, for producers and filmmakers from Central and Eastern Europe. It takes place in March as part of the One World Film Festival in Prague, and part of it is DOK.forum, our main pitching forum for new documentaries. Part of it is also DOK Market, which is presenting films mostly in post-production for festivals and sales, and is other open program for filmmakers like lectures, masterclasses, and so on. And this is also one of the ways how we promote the films, because the films selected there are then offered to sales agents, festival selectors, broadcasters, representatives of film funds. So this is also one of the ways how we work with films, by providing the right place for the right meetings, try to find the connections and help them to, with the films, to either fill in the financing gap at the end, or find a distributor and people who will help them these projects to be seen. that's one way what we do. Very important is also a networking aspect of this, because we created many partnerships with markets and festivals around Europe, and it contains in form of I would say awards, because there are, for example, collaborations with DOK Leipzig, Sunny Side of the DOK, with DOK Barcelona, IDFA, and other places and markets like Sunny Side of the DOK in France, where some projects from the DOK platform are then selected and then could continue the travel to other places where they could find another partners. So this is also one of the networking aspects, how to connect and how to be connected. I would also mention on the promotion side our other activities, mainly at DOK.net, because behind all these activities are extensive database with information about not only films. There is more than 5,000 entries about Eastern European documentaries on the website, but also about festivals, upcoming deadlines, about production companies and producers. So it's also a great source of information about documentaries from Central and Eastern Europe, either for filmmakers who could find the right partners or production companies there, but also for festivals and sales who could find new films there. Not to mention that we also have a part of the East of the market is the online video library for industry people. So this is also one way how to find new talents and new films from the region.
Thank you. I understand that it's really a lot of work doing all these things, but I think having expertise and the kind of experience that you bring with is really, really important. So I just had another question. In these times, it's really challenging, and I think it would be really great to hear your perspective on what is the biggest challenge right now for documentary film. And though it's a big question, you know, do you have any thoughts about that coming out of this Corona crisis? What can we take with us?
Well, of course, there's lots of changes, and I think we will be addressing those in our following discussion. But as it was mentioned here, I don't see it that much as a challenge. I would agree that it's more like opportunity, because this moment actually helped us to realize that there are tools that we could use and include them in our programs, and maybe take something positive out of it. Because, for example, in case of pitching forums, now we could find out that it's not that hard to set it up in a virtual space, and it could be done also including the one-on-one meetings afterwards. Of course, they're still missing the important personal contact, but this could be just one aspect of the industry events, that there could be always a part on the side where we could invite more people that would otherwise had problems to attend for certain reasons. But I think there is lots of options how we could work with this technology and take the best out of it and turn it into something good. So yes, definitely this is interesting time, but I see it as an opportunity. I would just mention that it's great at what Marion and Bridget are doing with the Documentary Association of Europe, because since the pandemic started, they started the regular Friday afternoon meetings, and this become a very good place how to network, how to meet other people, how to talk about projects, how to talk about the situation we are all facing. So this is also one of the good examples that something good came out of it, and these Friday afternoon meetings are really helpful to get a broader image of what's happening now in Europe.
Thank you so much, Zdenek. That is a lot to think about, and I think we're all looking for new inspiration and how we can move forward in this landscape. Now I would like to introduce our next panelist, who is Sanna Kultanen from Finland, and she is representative of the Documentary Guild of Finland. She's the executive director there and has been in the industry for over 20 years. Welcome, Sanna.
Thank you, Klara, for the introduction.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your organization?
The Finnish Documentary Guild was created about 20 years ago by Finnish documentary filmmakers. It was a time when the documentary sector started to grow and to bloom. And the idea back then, and still is to bring together people who work in the documentary sector in the country, and to see that the documentary filmmakers' interests are taken into consideration when deciding on funding and policy and structures in the film industry. And during the years, among other things, the work has led to the creation of the DOK.Point Helsinki Film Festival and a National Film Award for documentaries. The aim of the Guild is also to nourish the vitality of documentary film as an art form. So the Guild wishes to encourage critical thinking of the ethics, the practice, and the aesthetics of the documentary storytelling. And this is done, for example, through creating forums for exchange between filmmakers, and also through creating a bridge for discussion with the domestic audience. So what the association does in practice is we organize panels and seminars and discussions for filmmakers on current topics for professional development. And we organize film screenings with Q&As of domestic documentaries, both to the public and for the filmmakers to discuss. And then we organize visits for our members to festivals abroad to network internationally. Last year we have been traveling mainly to IDFA in Amsterdam. And since last year, the association has concentrated more on lobbying the interests of documentary filmmakers to financiers in order to raise the amount of financing for documentary films, and also to raise the profile of the documentary film industry in general. So in terms of advocacy work, we have launched a campaign called ProDoc. It consists of first gathering information and statistics, and then organizing panels and discussions, and finally having one-to-one meetings with decision makers and industry players. So the Documentary Guild is an independent and small association. We are membership-based and not for profit. And we are not a union, and we are not under the producers union or directors union, and we are not a copyright organization, as can be in some countries. Instead, we gather producers and directors and also other people working in the sector like editors, cinematographers, sound people. And some of our members have more journalistic background and some are still students. And we have about 250 members from all around the country. And after some research, it seems it's quite unique to have an association like ours in Europe. And I think this could be an interesting possibility for countries that don't have one. And why to have an association like ours? I think it can be sometimes quite a lonely profession with hard working conditions. Many have small budgets and instability of income, and the conditions can challenge really well-being and mental health. So peer-to-peer exchange can be really valuable. And also for the lobbying perspective, it can be that documentary filmmakers are often modest people. So it's other people, maybe who work with fiction features and TV series, who get their needs heard first, and documentary film comes somewhere behind and can end up overlooked. So that's one of the reasons we see this kind of association can really be a useful common voice for documentarians. And we are in the process of growing and going more international, so we're really happy to take part in the discussion today. And I believe this kind of exchange between associations and also people can really be beneficial. So I'm happy to talk to anyone who represents documentary filmmakers in the country or is wishing to create an association like ours.
Thank you so much, Sanna. That is a lot of great work that you're doing, and I think one of the most important points that you're making is the need for these kinds of organizations that are really raising the arts and crafts of documentary filmmaking. Because, like you said, there's a lot of different talents under the industry of documentary films, but a lot of times they are working alone and are not being appreciated and certainly not paid in a way that they should be for the amount of work and hardships that they're doing in order for us all in the world to be able to get a fair representation and important stories to our living rooms or wherever we see them. So thank you so much for doing this. And I think it's interesting you're talking about this international perspective. I'm wondering, as you're taking your members internationally and connecting them with new networks and funding and distribution, regarding your own international networking for the organization, I would assume that there's other places that could really use this kind of organization. Do you have any talks with others, or do you plan to try to start something somewhere else?
Well, yes, we have thought about these things, that when we think about how to survive as a documentary filmmaker in Europe, we have realized that many of the challenges that documentary filmmakers face in Finland can be very much the same in other countries, since it's often about structural conditions that create these challenges. It's not necessarily always about the individual who is not strong enough or skillful enough for the demanding and competitive profession. So as we are a small organization, we started first to collaborate with the neighboring country, Estonia. They have a documentary guild like ours. So it's really useful to exchange information in terms of advocacy work. And then we also were going to collaborate in professional training in creating a workshop for developing documentary films called Ice and Fire Docs. And then we've actually been in talks with Turkish associations. There are two associations there who work a little bit similarly. This COVID situation came in between, but we hope to continue the work with them. And then I've heard that we've inspired Koreans when they have given birth to this type of association in South Korea. And I'm looking forward to hearing like what other countries have this kind of activity.
Yeah,
so yes, we're starting to explore.
I think it's really interesting what you're saying about different connection points, because I do think that there's similar issues that people have, and maybe it's not so much. There was a lot of ongoing discussion about the lack of funding, the lack of distribution, the hardship between decision makers and the filmmakers. But those more, if you say, philosophical discussions about how to represent something, diversity, all of those kinds of issues that is part of the DNA of documentary filmmaking, I think will be very interesting for the makers actually to be able to discuss with other cultures. So that I also look forward to seeing how your work will inspire other places in the world. Quickly before we finish, I wanted to just ask you on a practical level, how do one become a member in Finland to the Finnish Documentary Guild? And yeah, tell us about it.
Okay, we don't have a very hard criteria for being a member. So there are a lot of people who see documentary film in a different way, and we accept all those views. And of course, the people who are actually in the board will then shape what is the core. And at the moment, and for the past, it has been a creative documentary film, but we try to keep that still open and be flexible. But so we make it as easy as possible to join. The membership fee is low. The procedure is easy. Just fill in the form on the website. And we aim to be an association that people feel it's easy to reach. And we want to stay at eye level with our members. And the board still consists of fellow filmmakers to whom there's a low threshold to propose an idea for activity.
I think that's a really, I can hear that throughout all these presentations around this session, that it is a lot about the peer-to-peer inspiration and exchange, and that we're maybe coming to an end of this hierarchy where old school, power has tried to even out, and that we can talk to each other and appreciate all the different voices and value them for exactly what they are, which I think is the one of the recipes for successful documentary filmmaking. New blood and old mixing together. So exactly. Thank you so much, Sanna.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing from you also in the fishbowl discussion later. Thanks.
Me too. Thanks.
And now I want to introduce our last panelist for this session, which is Nicole van Schaik. And she is here representing a very established network called DOK Society, which is also the initiator and the founder of the Good Pitch, which is an outreach pitch forum that is held across the world. And Nicole, she is the Director of Development at the DOK Society, and for over 9 years, she has been strategizing with filmmakers and impact producers on how they can use their films as a tool for social and environmental change. Welcome, Nicole. Would you please tell us about DOK Society and the Good Pitch?
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be sharing this digital space with you. So yeah, my name is Nicole and I'm the Director of Development at DOK Society. We are a not-for-profit foundation founded in 2005, and we're committed to enabling great documentary films and to connecting the films to audiences globally. We're a small team of about 20 people and 2 dogs. Our headquarters are in London, and we also have an office in New York and Amsterdam, which is where I'm based. We believe deeply that great documentaries enrich the lives of individuals. They have a unique ability to engage and connect people, transform communities, and improve societies. We were founded about 15 years ago because we felt that one night on TV is not enough. Filmmakers spend about, anywhere from 2, 5 to sometimes 8, 12 years making their films. And the film's life should be at least as long, reaching wider audiences as well as targeted audiences, using these films as a strategic tool for societal and environmental change. We support independent documentaries through direct funding for the development, production, and impact distribution of their films. And we also run a range of programs where we provide training for filmmakers and impact producers, like our impact labs, where we share our learning, like the Impact Field Guide, and where we measure impact of film through our DOK Impact High Five Award. And we also have a program where we engage new partners and build new audiences called Good Pitch. The Global Good Pitch program has been our longest running program. It's been going for about 12 years and has been connecting the world's best social justice films with new allies and partners. The global program includes filmmaker workshops, impact labs, online teaching resources, and live events. And at these live events, we bring together the selected filmmakers and connect them to leading change makers to forge new coalitions around a specific urgent social issue. Good Pitch is one of those brilliant ways in which we can grow the biodiversity of our ecosystem of independent documentary film. We all know traditional resources are draining, and we need new pots of money to support the work of filmmakers and impact producers. So Good Pitch engages and educates organizations from across civil society about the power of film and how these organizations can use your film as a strategic tool in their work. And when I say new partners, I mean, private foundations, NGOs, campaigners, philanthropists, policymakers, brands, and media. They can all offer something new. They can offer expert knowledge, access to memberships, campaigning and lobbying expertise, connections to policymakers or corporate leaders, and also provide new access to new pots of money. These kinds of partners can all help you reach wider audiences, but more specifically, they can help you reach the people that really need to see your film. The people that we know when they watch your film will be touched in their heart and mind, which will inspire them to take action. We know documentaries can raise awareness and understanding. We know it can change public behavior. Film can really build communities and change structures. We have seen it over and over again. A great film will create change on public, legal, corporate, and governmental levels. You can find some great examples of how films have created real impact on the Impact Field Guide website, which is impactguide.org. I can keep talking forever, but that's basically a short summary of what we do and who we are.
Thank you so much. Again, all these networks that we're talking to today have so much important work that you're doing and very specific perspectives on it, and you're all needed. And it's very inspiring to be able to listen to all of this. And I wanted to ask you something. What do you find is the most pressing today in terms of what is the hardest challenge today in terms of outreach and impact for documentary film, how to work with it and how to communicate about the film's potential?
Wow, great question. I think in a time where we're facing a rise in populism and misinformation, a climate crisis, and now also a global pandemic and economic catastrophe, I think the power of storytelling has never been so important and urgent as now. So rather than talking about challenges, I'd like to look at opportunities. I believe it is time for radical collaboration, for our community to come together and support each other through these critical times. We should be standing in solidarity with our filmmakers, impact producers, colleagues at cultural institutions, our funders, and really think about creating pathways to ensure our industry doesn't collapse. And I think these times also give us the opportunity to think bravely and come up with new ideas about how our communities and industry can be more inclusive, accessible, and transparent, not only now, but also post-COVID-19. And it also gives us the opportunity to pilot different ways of reaching audiences online, which various colleagues are already experimenting with. So I think lots of opportunities to be explored together.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I really appreciate all your thoughts about this and sharing to us about the DOK Society. I wanted to thank you all for participating in this session, and to you, the viewers, being with us here today. And for something much more important now is that I want to remind you at 3 o'clock, there will be 2 following fishbowl discussions with these panelists that you've just met and their networks. And there will be one focusing on outreach and promotion, and that will be moderated by Ulla Simonen from Finland. And the second fishbowl discussion will be focused on solidarity within the documentary industry, and that will be moderated by Ove Rishøi Jensen. So please come back to these discussions and hear more about the networks and get inspired. Thank you so much. Have a great day.